Good afternoon. It's 3 o'clock and we're going to start on time. I'm Mary Beth Lakin, Director of College and University Partnerships and ACE Center for Lifelong Learning. I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar on a new online resource at ACE, the Toolkit for Veteran-Friendly Institutions. I want to tell you a little bit about our presenter before we get started. She is Meg Krause, Director of Veterans Programs. Meg oversees ACE Veterans initiatives such as the Toolkit, the Success for Veterans Award Grants, and the Severely Injured Servicemen Program. Prior to this, she consulted on America's Heroes at Work. This is a U.S. Department of Labor education campaign that focused on helping veterans with traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress disorders succeed in the workplace. Meg also worked with the National Resource Directory, a website developed jointly by the U.S. Departments of Defense, Labor, and Veterans Affairs, which provides information and assistance to wounded, ill and injured service members, veterans, and families. Meg also served 10 years as a medic in the U.S. Army, including 2 overseas tours in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. Before we begin with the presentation, let me take care of a few quick housekeeping details. During Meg's presentation, be sure to keep your telephone on mute so that any background noise will not be amplified. We are recording this session and we want to share that with you through our website. We're going to have time for questions at the end of the presentation, and if you think of questions along the way, you can use the chat feature, which you'll see in the right-hand corner, and all you have to do is, of the webinar, all you have to do is click on the icon for the chat feature, and then you can send a question or a comment. We'll keep track of those, and after the presentation, we'll go through as many questions as we can. Also, after the presentation, there's a second way that you can ask a question, and that is through raising a hand, and that's beside the chat feature. Again, you can click on that sign. For the raise hand feature, please use that after the presentation. You can use the chat feature along the way to ask questions, and we'll respond to those after the presentation.
What to do?
So, one other thing to let you know is that when you logged on to the presentation, you provided us with an email address, and what we're going to do is use that email address to forward the link to the presentation as well as other resources that we can provide you in future webinars. So with no more overview or details, let's move to Meg and the presentation on the Toolkit. Meg?
Thanks, Mary Beth. Can everybody hear me okay? Well, that's silly. I guess you're not all going to be able to answer because your phones are on mute. But if you can't hear me all right, please go ahead and raise your hand or chat briefly to Mary Beth and let her know that you can't. I'm going to try to keep my phone on speaker so that I can navigate the PowerPoint at the same time I'm speaking. If that poses a problem, I'll go ahead and adjust. Thanks to all of you for coming. Today we are going to give a brief overview of the Toolkit for Veteran-Friendly Institutions and how it might assist your institution in developing programs and services supporting student veterans, and then how you might be able to share your success stories and highlight your resources so that other institutions of higher education can do the same. To give you a brief background on ACE veteran programs, Mary Beth mentioned a few of them in reading my bio. Many of you may be familiar with the Success for Veterans Jam that we ran in 2010. More than 3,000 participants came together to discuss the issues that service members and veterans were facing in higher education and to discuss higher education's response and how they might be able to best serve the student veterans that were coming to campus after the passing of the post-9/11 GI Bill. I'm sorry, I am going to ask that you please put your phone on mute.
Ready to go to school. They fill out an application. They're using this number. So,
in addition to the Success for Veterans Jam, it also recently ran a series of Success for Veterans Award grants generously supported by the Walmart Foundation. This gave us the opportunity to provide $100,000 grants to 20 institutions across the country and follow them as they built promising practices and learned a variety of lessons while they increased their capacity to serve student veterans. Our final project that we've been working on for a number of years is the Severely Injured Service Member Fulfilling Their Dreams initiative. This has been another privately funded initiative that has allowed ACE to provide academic guidance counselors at institutions of military hospitals across the country to help service members who've been severely injured start considering what their higher education path might look like and make that transition from the hospital into higher education institutions. You all may be familiar with our various research publications. We've provided a significant amount of assistance in the GI Bill implementation. Of course, ACE does provide those military training evaluations and credit recommendations that you often see coming in the way of arts and smarts transcripts that service members and veterans bring to your institutions. All of these projects that we've been working on over the past few years have identified for us a number of key findings. A number of ways to start new promising practices include having a task force at your institution, ensuring that you have top-down leadership support and student involvement in that task force so that as you're developing programs and services, you ensure that you're addressing the needs of that student veteran population that you have at your institution at that time. The key findings, in fact, from the Walmart grants were the grantees provided us with fantastic proposals on these support services and resources they were going to provide. They got part of the way through their programs and realized that the veterans weren't necessarily leveraging the resources. And after they spoke with the veterans, they determined that perhaps they'd gone in a different direction with their programs than what the veterans really needed and subsequently changed their programs. A number of our grantees and other institutions we've worked with have found sincere success in making community partnerships to fill the gaps between what they are able to provide at their institution and what already exists in their community.
Meg, excuse me. Let's just pause for a minute because there still seems to be the same phone with background noise, and there are several people that are talking, and it's really hard to hear, and plus it really influences the recording as well because there's all the background noise. So I'm going to pause for just a minute and make sure that whoever's still live and not muting their phone will do that now because it's so distracting to the presentation. Did everybody get the message? Mm-hmm. Does everybody have a mute button?
I have a question.
Well, right now what we're trying to do is go through the presentation. Are you not able to access the presentation?
I have audio. I don't have video. All I have is Lotus Live meetings on screen.
Yeah, the video's not coming through. I've been trying for 15, 20 minutes now.
Okay.
Oh, okay. And what did you use in terms of access? What did you type in?
I clicked on the http lotuslive.readyshow.com link, and then I put in the participant code. I put in my name, my company, my email address. I click Start, and this Lotus Live meeting screen, thank you for using our services, is what came up.
What web browser are you using?
I'm sorry, probably Explorer.
Okay, well, that could be a huge problem. I don't know if you have another web browser, but that could help.
The other thing you might try is determining if you have pop-ups blocked. Because this was going to open, it will open in a new window or a new tab. So it may have, it's a pop-up blocker. It told you across the top that you have pop-ups blocked, and you'll need to remove that in order for it to work. You might.
Yeah, I've done that, and I still can't get it to connect through.
I don't have any other suggestions at this point, and so, if you want to ask for assistance at your institution to see if anybody else might have an idea. Otherwise, you have our apologies, and we'll be happy to send you a recording of the presentation as well as the PowerPoint, and if you would be so kind to listen to the audio, that would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Meg.
All right, are we there?
I think we're there. I think
Great.
everybody is muted. Let's hope so.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think that where we left off was the community partnerships. Again, institutions saw a significant amount of success in forming partnerships with community services to bridge the gaps in services that they may not have been able to provide or that they may not be well suited to provide. This is often the case in career services. A lot of areas have local veterans employment representatives and disabled programs that are there to help veterans and service members find careers during their transition. Another key area that this was important was in providing mental health services, ensuring that there was a strong relationship with the local VA and the ability to provide warm handoffs to veterans who might be in need. Of course, communication and dissemination are also key. Communication is key in this particular sense, not just amongst institutions, administrators, faculty, and staff, but with the student veterans. And I'm going to emphasize this again because veterans often speak in a different language than what we're used to in higher education. And sometimes when they don't understand what's going on, they either don't ask for assistance or they just assume that they have a grasp of what's going on when perhaps there's been a miscommunication. So taking the time to sit down with service members that are struggling in their academics or in their reintegration and explain to them processes such as application of military credit or withdrawal and readmission processes for National Guard and reservists that get called back up while they're in school. Oftentimes taking that time to have a one-on-one conversation and really open the lines of communication can be beneficial not only to the one student veteran you're working with, but because word of mouth amongst the veteran population is so valuable. It can end up building a significant amount of trust with your institution amongst the larger veterans population. We heard a lot from staff and faculty about accommodations and disability resource centers. Faculty in particular discussed the fact that they had brilliant veterans in their classes who were participating in discussions, had clear grasps of material, but when it came time to take the tests, they weren't passing, oftentimes because they weren't finishing the material. And of course, this isn't every veteran out there, but the faculty wanted to know if there was a way that they could work with that veteran that didn't violate the ADA, in encouraging that veteran to access and use the disability resource centers so that they could succeed. Again, this is a matter of communication, helping veterans understand what a disability resource center is there for, that you do not have to have a VA rating to use the disability resource center, and a variety of other things. So ACE worked with the Association of Higher Education and Disability and the America's Heroes at Work campaign out of the U.S. Department of Labor to write this report, Accommodating TBI and PTSD in the Classroom. And it's really aimed at providing tips to faculty and staff on how they can open that discussion without violate the ADA and get those service members and veterans the assistance they need so they can succeed academically. Of course, you're all aware at this point of the magnitude of the term veteran-friendly or military-friendly, and this has been a running theme in veterans education for a number of years now. The Veteran Success Jam in particular held a large discussion about the term veteran-friendly. Institutions across the board were very much looking for what steps they needed to take, what they needed to do to be able to boast being veteran or military-friendly. And at the same time, veterans asked us what they should look for, what they should expect from an institution. Institution promises veteran-friendly or military-friendly. Ultimately, what everybody was asking for was one central location that would house a variety of promising practices that institutions could use so they could develop promising practices and veteran-friendly institutions. What ACE did with all of our work is we started to really examine the definition of veteran-friendly. And what we've discovered is that that definition is as diverse as the higher education world as the veteran population. What works at one institution for one veteran may not be the same for another veteran at that institution or for the same veteran at another institution. We've discovered that different types of campuses, different academic environments all lead to a different culture that will ultimately lead to a variety of veteran-friendly practices across the world of higher education. So what we did when we developed the Toolkit for Veteran-Friendly Institutions was examined all of the opportunities and possibilities out there and tried to pull them all into one location where institutions, program managers, administrators, staff, and faculty can take a look at the broad topics and the different areas that institutions are creating or enhancing programs and policies and determine what might be a good fit for their own institution and how they can apply it. The Toolkit boasts a variety of real-world examples and the opportunity for a user to search for promising practices in particular areas that they might be hoping to focus their next program on. It also gives institutions the opportunity to share their own success stories in a public environment so that you can demonstrate your commitment in what you're doing to veterans, for veterans, but also so that other institutions can learn from what you're doing with the hopes that everybody will be able to continue to develop their own support services in a manner that suits their needs. So the Toolkit is located at vetfriendlytoolkit.org. We launched it last March. We're incredibly excited about where it is at this point. And I'm hoping I can take the next few minutes to go over the different functions of the Toolkit and how you might be able to use them. If you've been to the Toolkit for Veteran-Friendly Institutions yet, you've likely seen this page. It's our home page. There are a variety of different functions right here on the home page. The first, of course, is this register button right here where you can register for your own account. We also boast a number of videos which we shot through the ACE Success for Veterans Award grants. These are highlights of what those institutions did, how they enacted them, and the responses from some of the student veterans. So they're organized by topic. If you have a particular topic area that you're interested in learning more about, there are videos there for you to be able to watch and learn and see what some institutions have done. Of course, there's a search bar, so you can search all the content that we have across the board here. And there's also a section for institution highlights. This section is a rotating section, and it highlights the programs of institutions that have decided to participate in the Toolkit and share their own success stories. Within the Toolkit, there are a variety of sub-content pages. These are all of them across the top here: creating a successful program, admissions and financial aid, academic services, student services, campus life. Each of those sections is broken down into a variety of sections that you can find along the side. And each of those sections goes over a particular area that ACE has heard a significant amount about or discovered through our work is an area that institutions are having a lot of success focusing on supporting student veterans. In addition to the content that we've written to explain sort of the background on why this is an area you might consider focusing and what institutions have done, we've also provided you with links to the resources that institutions are sharing that are related to that particular topic area. So you can see here the University of South Dakota has shared a faculty workshop agenda that they use to train their staff and faculty in military culture, Veterans 101, those types of things. If you're interested in starting a staff and faculty training at your institution, you can come in here, take a look at the agenda that a peer institution is using, and tweak that to serve your own needs. We've also listed a number of community resources that are relevant to the topic area. If you're at all familiar with Operation College Promises Certificate for Veteran Service Providers, this is a wonderful opportunity to send your staff and faculty to training that covers anything from cultural competency to policy changes in the post-9/11 GI Bill and a variety of other issues. We've also provided a Track Your Progress document. This is an external document to the website. So when you click on the link, you'll be able to download the document. You will not be able to save it back to the Toolkit, but the document allows you to really really complete an analysis of where your institution is in all of these different areas and track sort of what resources you've found on the Toolkit that you might be interested in leveraging for your own institution. That's something that you can save and update at your own pace on your own computer. We really wanted to provide you with the ability to sort of monitor what you're doing and stay organized as you go through using the toolkit. The next section that I'm going to discuss is our registration. There are a couple of key things to know about registering. You have the opportunity right here to select your institution from a drop-down menu. This will pull in from ACE's database everything that we collect in one database from the Department of Education IPED system. So when you select that institution, we're going to automatically populate your institution's profile with your full-time enrollment data, the address that you have on file with the Department of Education, your website, et cetera, so we can start to provide other users a good overview of your institution and what your where you're located and the type of population that you serve. It's important to note that if you do decide to create an institution profile, as this says right here, you're going to need to use your .edu email address to register for an account. There are a few institutions that have contacted us at this point that do not have .edu email addresses. There is a Contact Us section right up here. If that happens to be the case for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we will work with you to help you develop your profile. Pretty standard information. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, what role you for your institution. Create a password, and then please select for us what area at your institution you work in and any key issues you might be interested in. There's the opportunity to receive our newsletter if you're not already signed up for it. And, of course, the standard accepts the terms and agreements. That newsletter is going to be a quarterly newsletter that we send out to provide you with updates, not just on the toolkit, but moreover, updates on ACE's veterans programs, any policy updates that we might be aware of. Past examples would include the DoD Tuition Assistance MOU, and really an opportunity for us to all stay in touch on what's developing in the way of resources and promising practices for veterans. Once you've created your profile, you'll have to go through a couple of quick steps. We will send you a verification email to the email address you used to create your profile that will direct you to select a link to validate that you're actually on the other end of that email address. Once you do that, you'll be able to log into your profile. There are a couple of key places that you'll want to go right away. The first is updating your user profile. This is where you've got your personal information. You can double check, make sure everything got in right, and change anytime while you continue to have a profile within the toolkit. You can go back in here, change what key issues you're interested in, change your contact information. Of course, you can unsubscribe to the newsletter if you so desire. The next section that I would encourage you to go to is right here, Update Institution Profile. While we pull some information from IPEDS, there's an opportunity here for you to add a brief description of your veterans programs. If you have a website on your veteran-specific programs, you can add that in, and some enrollment data on how many student veterans you tend to serve. Lastly, the opportunity to share your resources is right here, and I'm going to go through that in just a minute. But a few other things. As a registered user of the toolkit, when you go to search resources to find things that you might be interested in using, you'll be able to save your searches and save your resources. All of those saved searches will be located here, and your saved resources will be located in your menu as well. So it gives you one sort of central location to manage all of your information within the toolkit. Sharing resources. This is really the meat of the toolkit. It is user-generated, so the more of you that have success stories that you want to share, the more robust the toolkit this will be for other institutions that go in to develop their own promising practices. You have the opportunity to, name your file, upload it, create a description for it, and then select a program area and a key issue. Keep in mind that when you select these things and you type in a description and you create a resource name, be as specific as you possibly can. It is the resource name and the description and the program area and key issue that determine how a resource comes up in a search function, or how a resource is populated in all of the separate subsections that we're populating the resources in. So the more specific and select you can be in making all of those decisions, the easier it will be for institutions to find your resources throughout the toolkit. After you share resources, this is where things get really exciting. You can go into the section on your profile titled Institution Resources right here. You will see a list of all of the resources that you have shared, and once you do that, you'll be able to click on this nifty little link underneath that will provide you with a code. This code gives you the HTML that you can put on your institution website, your Veterans Programs website, Veterans Services website. The badge looks like this, and it highlights that you're participating in the toolkit and really underscores your support for student veterans programming across the country. We've got a lot of institutions that are using this right now, not only to demonstrate their commitment, but it also gives veterans the opportunity to take a look and see what types of programs and services you might be providing so they can determine if your institution is a good fit for them as they're making their higher education decisions. This is the list of participating institutions. Once you share some resources, you will be populated on this list. The list provides users who navigate the path, the institution, the demographics, and little checkboxes in the different areas that institutions are sharing resources. It also provides a link to the institution profile that has that demographic data that we're pulling and a list of the resources. So this really gives users the opportunity to find a peer institution and take a look at the different areas that they might be providing resources. And, select that institution's profile, reach out to that institution so they can collaborate and help each other in building their own support services. This is what an institution profile looks like. As I said, this is the opportunity for you to provide a brief overview of your veteran support services. Again, there's the opportunity to provide a link to your veterans program, so anybody who finds you through the toolkit can go right to your veteran services and learn more about your program. And of course, a list of all the resources that you're providing. So users can see the different types of services and supports that you have, and they can either consider creating them themselves or determine how they might be able to tweak those to work at their institution. The resource search. You get to this resource search by using this resources tab on the very far right side of the toolkit pages. This is where you can actually search through all of the different resources that are being shared through the toolkit at any given time. Of course, you have the opportunity to search via keywords, but you also can use an advanced search to narrow down the type of institution you're looking for. Again, through all of our work, we've recognized that a four-year institution with 5,000 full-time enrollees may not be doing the same thing that, say, a two-year community commuter college with 50,000 students is doing. So we're really giving you the opportunity not just to find examples of resources, but to find examples of resources at peer institutions that might fit your specific needs. You can also search by program area and key issue. Again, this is where the tagging becomes very specific. And you can even search by the number of veterans that are being served. Again, institutions that have large quantities of student veterans and military service members might be enacting different programs or writing different policies than those who don't have such large quantities of student veterans. This is what the resource result will look like. As you can see, there's the opportunity to save your search results. You can also save a particular resource, and you can flag a resource as inappropriate. So if you are in here and you look at a particular resource and you determine that maybe it's not toolkit friendly, so to speak, please don't hesitate to click that flag as inappropriate button and let us know so that the administrators on this side can take a look and remove anything that's inappropriate. I just want to say that this is only an example. Amy, Amy Line, for those of you who don't know, is on the line right now, and her resources are the resources I'm about to use as an example. They in no way, shape, or form need to be flagged as inappropriate, so I apologize in advance, Amy, if I just gave you a heart attack. I do want to highlight, though, the difference between a position description and a peer mentor position description. I'm sure you can all see where one would be would populate in a particular search differently than another, and this is why it's important to be very specific with not only how you title your resources, but the descriptions you write and your tags. This will give other users the ability to ensure they're finding the resources that are best suited to their needs. That's it for the brief overview on the toolkit. I know that we have a few questions coming in. It sounds like I know Mary Beth was going to monitor some of those for me, but this is a wonderful opportunity for you all to ask any questions you may have, and I will do the best I can to answer them.
One of the questions that was asked earlier was from Michael. And Michael, let's find out if you still have this question. If our institution would like to share its successes, would we be able to join and provide information? Do you need additional details, or did Meg cover that?
Great. Thanks, Michael.
Then there's another question, Meg, from Ariel. How do you decide which resources to feature on this page?
I believe that that user asked the question while I was highlighting a specific section. I'm getting back to it.
Yeah, I think
you're talking about this page in particular.
But I'm not gonna log in and build a profile.
So this page, the resources that are provided on this page again are selected based on go to resource, that key issue, and that program area that you select. I can't emphasize enough that how you make choices dictates where the resources are sorted throughout the toolkit. So if you have a staff and faculty training resource, you can select staff and faculty training from key issue, and that will be what determines which of these subpages it is featured on.
And then Tim Snap asked if, oops, I just lost the question. Hang on.
Oh, I have a question on can there be an account for all veterans representatives for a single institution? The answer to that question is absolutely yes. I want to get here, so bear with me. It looks like I didn't take a screenshot of updating the institution profile. For that, I apologize. There can be more than one user for an institution. So each user will, in the registration, will select the same institution from the drop-down menu and use their own individual email address. The first user to create that profile will automatically become the institution administrator. And what you will do as more users log in, you see this section right here, Update Institution Profile. When you select that section, there will be an area where you see the multiple other users that belong to this profile, and you can promote them to administrators of your institution. So you can have people who just load content or people who can be broader information administrators.
And Jennifer wants to know how she can be verified as an institutional administrator so she can update her institutional profile. It's very much out of date.
Okay. Jennifer, what I'm going to ask you to do is send an email to stws@acenet.edu. Please provide your username and your institution, and we will work with you to get that updated as quickly as possible.
Cynthia has a question about the number of distance learning institutions participating.
Wow. So there are some distance learning institutions that are participating. I'm going to go back to the list of institutions here. It doesn't look like many on this list are because I've only gotten a quick screenshot of all of them. But if you go to from anywhere on the toolkit, just about this toolkit section, and then you can find the list of participating institutions. What you'll be able to see is all of the institutions who not only have created profiles, but are sharing resources. So it's very important that if you'd like to get on this list that you start sharing your resources with us so that you can get that participation badge and get listed. We do have a number of distance learning institutions that have created profiles. I'm not sure how many of them are sharing resources at this time. We would love to have you if you belong to one of them.
Richard Kennedy asked a great question. Who is the, not that they all weren't great, but here's another great one. Who is the ideal end user for the toolkit?
Yeah, the ideal end user for the toolkit is the administrators, faculty, staff at the institution. The goal here is to create a collaborative learning environment where you can all share your resources and work to build your services for the student veteran. So the end user for the toolkit are the institutions themselves.
Okay, so we've got a raised hand. Lori, would you go ahead and ask your question? Lori Briel, I believe it is, has a question. If you want to ask it, now's the time.
Meanwhile, I'm going to answer Cynthia's question, is this marketed directly to student veterans? The Student Veterans of America, the organization that represents a number of chapters of student veterans across the country, student veteran organizations across the country, have really enjoyed seeing the toolkit be developed and the resources that it can provide to the institutions to support their members. They have sent out some messaging to their members to give the students the opportunity to use this either for grassroots advocacy and assisting their faculty and staff in developing programs, as well as for an educational opportunity so that veterans can take a look at the different types of services that are out there and ensure they're making the best decisions for their own academic career. ACE is focused on marketing it directly to the institutions themselves. Michael, I see your question up there. For those of you who maybe can't see it, GI Jobs provides surveys and information on veteran-friendly schools. We all have some opinions on that list. We'll be providing a similar list but backed by actual data. The list that I have on the screen right now, this list of participating institutions, is the list that's public. And again, what it demonstrates is the different areas that schools are sharing services and resources. So we are not going to take this a step further and evaluate those programs and services that are being shared. We're trying, again, to create the opportunity for institutions to share their success stories and share their resources. But because it is such a diverse spectrum that's available and what can be done to support student veterans, we don't really want to be comparing apples to oranges, and so we want to be sure that there's a lot of opportunity out there.
Dave has a question. Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, can you show us again how we find out who else in our institution's already registered at the toolkit?
Absolutely. Right? You'll log in and you'll create a profile, and I am finding that slide. Nope. You'll log in and you'll create a profile. Once you get to this page, you'll go right down here to Update Institution Profile. And that will be where you can see your institution information as well as the users that are participating. If you can't see that, please contact us through this section right up here and let us know, and we'll take a look at whatever technical glitch. I do ask that you all bear with us. We did only launch it 2 months ago, and we are still working to fix a few hitches that we've stumbled across as it's been growing.
Dave, did you have another question?
No, I'm fine, thanks.
Okay, good.
I know that a couple of people have asked where the recording and slides located. We are going to email to you the recording and the slides, and we're going to post a link to it on the ACE website. And when we email you the recording and the slides, we'll be sure to let you know what that link is.
David Renza has a question. Go ahead, David. David or Dave, your hand's raised so you can ask a question if you have one.
It looks like we have a couple of other questions that have been written in. One question in particular is, can resources be taken from the toolkit and posted to social media sites such as institution Facebook pages? I would ask that you go through our terms and conditions before you do anything. And please, if you do use another institution's resource, please attribute it accordingly. They are putting it in the public domain, but of course we want to be sure that they get the credit for whatever they have developed. And I thought I had another question here. Oh, someone's asked what the cost is. It's absolutely free to participate in the toolkit for veteran-friendly institutions. The larger initiative is generously supported by the Kresge Foundation. They just recently gave us a second grant of $758,000 to expand the capabilities of the toolkit. We're currently working not only to fix some of the technical glitches we've identified already, but to develop some social media opportunities so that institution users can connect and communicate with each other within the toolkit to create an even more enhanced collaborative environment for you all. Do we have more questions?
Oh, here's a question from Cameron that says, I'm sure I missed it, but how come my school is not on the list of participating institutions?
Well, there are 3 things that needs to happen for your school to be on the list. You need to create a profile. You need to update your user profile by going to this section right here, and then you need to share resources by uploading resources in this section right here. So if you have shared resources but you haven't, I'm sorry, and I just clicked on the wrong spot. Let me clear this and try again. Okay, you need to create a profile. You need to update your institution profile by going right here, and you need to upload resources. So if you uploaded resources but you haven't actually gone in and looked at your institution profile yet, that might be why you're not appearing on the list of participating institutions.
Another question from Susie. Early on you referred to a training for staff. Could you revisit that and direct us to that training?
Yeah, if you go to the Toolkit website and across the top you go to Campus Life, one of the sections under there will be training for faculty and staff. There's a ton of really great opportunities there for you. Any more questions?
Here's a raised hand. Well, not raised anymore.
All right, I think we've got one more question coming in via the chat and one more raised hand.
All right, this looks like from Gary.
Yes, my question would be, I'm new to this site. I think it's great, but do you have any plans for future webinars on information?
Absolutely. We would love to keep doing webinars. In fact, if you have ideas on what else we can bring to you in the way of particular webinars or particular programs and services, please don't hesitate to use the Contact Us that's located right up here and send them in to us. We will be as responsive as we possibly can. We need to hear from you on what you're looking for from us. All right, I think that about wraps it up, Mary Beth.
I think so too. And
to all of you for your wonderful attendance and your phenomenal questions. I really appreciate this. I know, Mary Beth, you have some closing remarks, and we'll get the slides and the audio out to you as soon as we can.
And that's just a reminder, and with that email with the link, then we'll also provide you additional related resources and upcoming webinars.
And I've been a member since